Good evening and salutations, my GH fans. I want to sit there and say right off the bat, this was a good episode. This was a good episode and a hell of a cliffhanger. I didn't finish watching the other two yet, but I gotta sit there and say so far, this might be the best cliffhanger. I guess I have to sit there and wait to fully judge that, but hmm. We'll start off with Jordan and Curtis. Because I'm gonna be honest, Jordan has just started to get on my damn nerves. But somebody who practically does not want to be a homewrecker, who has said a couple of times that she should just kind of take a step back from Curtis in this relationship and be like, hey, listen, unless we're seeing each other in like family functions or work ventures, there's not really a lot for us to really kind of see each other. We have history, you're married, and she just felt like it wasn't a good idea. So for some odd reason, we have to sit there and watch her ask him questions about this new apartment. This new expensive apartment that, I'm going to be honest, why is she sitting there talking about, oh, I'm going to make sure it's good. I want to make sure this is fine. I want to make sure. You do realize that you are undercover, right? And the whole point of being undercover is that you are there to bust the criminal. And once you finish busting this criminal, then you go back to whatever job you was doing or some job like it, right? Like, yeah, okay, cool. She had her issues with Laura. But once you bust it well, you're not going to have that money to maintain that place. So why is she sitting there talking? I want to make sure this works. I want to make sure that works. You're not planning on staying there, though. So I'm not really understanding like what is going on with this whole thing. And then they start going into memory lane and talking about the good times and Baltimore this and popping champagne. Meanwhile, you got Portia trying on about 5 or 6 different dresses to make sure that, you know, they have like the perfect date night. She's so worried and making sure that everything goes right. And yet you have this, I'm gonna be honest, asshole out of pocket man that is spending time with his ex, popping champagne and inspecting every single inch of her place. And you're telling me like, bro, that shit makes sense to either one of y'all? It almost looked like they was about to kiss. I'm gonna be honest, listen, Portia may not exactly be my favorite person, but like, god damn, bro, she deserves way better than your ass. He does wind up getting there and they have a good time and they wind up making love and everything like that. But I'm like, I think that's probably going to all come crashing down the more times he spends with Jordan, and eventually Portia's going to sit there and see it. Like, it's just something that's so out of pocket that he's sitting there doing all this stuff, essentially kind of behind her back while she's thinking that everything's all good in the hood. You have Isaiah sitting there asking Felicia, what should he do? He presents the whole scenario with seeing um, Curtis hanging out with Jordan and stuff like that, and meanwhile, he talks about this woman or this person that's really hopeful with, wanting to make sure that they get their marriage back on track and saying, should he say something? And Felicia says, stay out of it. Gives him reasons why, and of course, he does the exact opposite in a sense. Because he's like, listen, doesn't mean that I don't have to get involved. I was like, did you not just hear what Felicia just said? She just told you to stay out of the situation. That doesn't just mean, oh, well, don't just, you know, tell Portia what's going on. That means stay out of it entirely. The whole point of this 5 to 10 minute lecture was that way he would step back. Just for him to be like, oh, okay, that's cool. I'm going to do the exact opposite right now. But, you know, thank you for wasting the audience 10 minutes of their time that they're not going to get back. So he winds up calling Jordan and asks, oh, could I meet you at General Hospital? Right? Every day with Drew, I find myself asking the question of how low could this man go? How much worse could his character get? And he goes right back to the one thing that I was like, God damn, Drew. God damn. So Stella and Tracy are having their meeting and they're talking about Drew and everything. And Michael comes in, and Michael comes in with Wiley, and they're hanging out. And at some point, they they're in they're in the metro court area, the food area, and Michael and Wiley are talking, right? And Drew is sitting there talking dirt about Michael, talking about Willow is working really hard, and Michael's sitting there out there playing golf and stuff, and I'm just like, oh, it's not fair and everything like that. I was like, bro, let me tell you something. Michael's a better father than you right now. Like, I don't understand how you sit there talking about somebody else's parenting skills when you are being the worst basuda of a father that well, not the worst, but definitely really bad, right? And so at some point, Michael goes and talks to Tracy about Geo and everything, since Michael and Wally were talking about Geo. And while they're talking about that and everything, Drew comes over and it's like, oh, do you mind that they're hanging out with your Uncle Drew? Stella sees that Michael goes back to the table and now he told Wiley. Wiley pretty much tells Michael, oh well my mommy missed me and he says that you should let me see her. Because at first Michael walks over, Michael's like, listen, he politely asks him to, get up and kind of just go back to hanging out with your lawyer or whatever. After he said that, Tracy comes over. Tracy starts reaming him out, right? Michael tells Tracy, "Hey, you mind if you watch Wiley for a little bit?" So he does. So she does that, and at this point, Drew just messed up Tracy and Stella's night to hang out, right? They get into it back and forth, and Michael's like, "Yo, listen, stay away from my goddamn son." That's it. Just stay away from my son. I don't exactly remember. Oh, Drew is like, "Stop lying to your son," and Michael punches him in the face. Later on, talks to Tracy and says, I did exactly what Drew wanted. So Drew makes a beeline to Sonny's. Now, okay, Sonny is, having his pizza night or whatever, caking out his pizza with Donna. And Justine comes over, and I'm just like, Justine, what are you doing? You just sat there and practically was like, telling Sonny to not send you any more gifts because it looks really bad for a public official to be receiving gifts. You know what else looks bad? The public official that decides to go to the mobster's house once again. Not only that, but they invite her for pizza and she's like, ooh, pizza sounds good. She doesn't say that, but she decides to stay and have pizza. So I was like, but you were just saying that it was really bad to get receive gifts from a public official as a public official. But what you just did is even worse. Seriously, I was like, for such a smart woman, I don't understand. Like, and granted, yes, she went over there to essentially apologize for, accusing him of something because she doesn't know if it was him. And also just seeing another side of him. He talks about why he does peace and nights and, he's really nice and caring with his daughter and his daughter's not there giving her all sorts of compliments. I'm just like, girl, do you not honestly think that you're the first DA to sit there and try to take Sonny down and once again got wooed? But you clearly did not learn. I was like, here's the thing, if you're gonna go after somebody like Sonny, you need to sit there and do your research. And I mean actual research on him. So you just practically got snowed like every other goddamn DA that as long as I've been watching just fell into the trap of this is a mobster, but he's a mobster with a heart of gold. He's so nice to his daughter, and he helped me out, and now I'm apologizing, I'm hanging out, and this totally looks bad. You see where I'm going, right? So, okay. Anyway, she apologizes for her behavior. He says practically like, don't worry about any more gifts. I don't want to, to make you look compromised. Drew starts banging on the door. It's like, oh, I want to sit there and talk to you. It's Drew, whatever. It turns like, oh shit. Yeah, me being here is gonna look bad, Really, Justine? Really? So she decides to hide. Sonny's like, don't worry, I'll sit there and get rid of him. Drew comes to the door, and Drew pretty much just like, your son just, he was like, you're going to do something for me. And if you don't do anything for me, then I'm going to sit there and get Michael arrested for assaulting a public figure. So, just when you thought that Drew couldn't get any lower, whew, he is just, goddamn, Drew. Goddamn. Oh, and then Stella gets back to the hospital and is talking to Felicia about the upcoming staff meeting that they got to do, and of course, Stella's like, Drew, because Stella was sent to talking to Tracy about how she doesn't like Drew, and then told Felicia, "I can't believe I just saw Drew try to turn a son against their own goddamn father." I mean, that is just low. That is low, 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 low. And then two men come up, and at first I thought they were gonna sit there and like arrest Stella, but they was like, "Oh, we got to sit there and ask you a couple questions about insurance fraud." Oh goddamn, bro! You just broadcasted her entire business in front of everybody, including Jordan, who got there, who got to the hospital, talked to Isaiah, and then Stella was like, listen, Marshall's coming next week. I'd like to know if you can be there at Portia's place. And she was like, oh, I don't know if that's a good idea. Or it's not a good idea. But but hanging out with her husband and making sure that he inspects every inch of your goddamn house, that was a good idea. But seeing Marshall, that's not a good idea, right? Okay. Girl, you really got your priorities screwed up. I'm just gonna throw that out there. Oh, so back at the Five Poppies or whatever, Jason gets there. Vaughn tells Jocelyn that she's scrubbed from the mission, even though Jocelyn's like, I'll stay in the room. I just want to sit there and be backup for you at this point. Vaughn's like, no, don't worry about this. I can handle this. I did this before. You're just gonna be a liability. So Jocelyn's like, okay, I'm just gonna return this tablet since she had the tablet from the maid, the different layouts and stuff. I'm just gonna return this tablet back there. Don't worry, no one's gonna see me. Okay. Here's my issue with that. First of all, it's like, girl, why are you leaving to return the stolen property back to the maid? The whole point is that way you don't get caught um by by Britt, who Britt, by the way, is that they're asking one of the clerks or whatever, do you know what room Mr. Nash is in? You know damn well that no clerk is going to sit there and tell you that. And of course, that guy that I don't know what his name is was like, nah, you don't need to do that. You need to sit there and stay on task. And of course, Britt just keeps pushing the envelope with this guy. Um, Anyway, they send in an assassin because of Khaled. The guy comes in, he just barges on in Vaughn's room and it's like, comes in with a gun and Vaughn saw that, so they're struggling and stuff like that. Jocelyn gets back to the hotel and realizes that Vaughn is in trouble because, a guy has like one of those choke wires or whatever. And Jocelyn picks up the gun and starts aiming it. And then she shoots and then it just closes out. And I'm like, that's that. I was like, that's how you do a goddamn um cliffhanger scene. That's how you do a cliffhanger scene. And I feel like that's about it. I feel like there's also more since I wrote a goddamn book. How many pages? 2.5 pages. Jesus Christ. It's like I need a new book every goddamn month. Okay, that is the general gist that happened in the episode. I probably missed some stuff here or there, but yeah, that's the general gist of it. Now, if I miss anything, write in the comment section. Come to the live stream tonight. I'll be sitting there talking about this episode in way more detail and probably way more rants. Because I'm not done. 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, as well as all the other soaps. Um, Hopefully it's 8 p.m. Eastern. Maybe like 8:10 or 8:30. Because I still got 2 more soaps to watch. And We're gonna see. It's going to be around 8ish. Okay, I will sit there and post the time, check the community tab, and I'll definitely sit there and post the time. And when actually, tell you, when you come to the channel, it's going to sit there and say the time that I'm going to be officially starting. So it'll have like a little pre-live thing that will go on my channel. You can sit there and see for sure. But I will be live streaming tonight, so that's for damn sure.